Hey guys, my name is Alex Barham, and this is going to be part 3 of my series called Getting Better. If you've come this far, please remember that none of this stuff happens on its own, and give some love to the people who support me, Mountain Man Outdoor Supply Company, and NRS. In the last 2 episodes, we talked about a lot of the mental game that goes into the progression of a paddler in the sport. This episode is probably going to be the last fully mental exercise that we're going to focus on. At this point, we've really covered a lot of ground, and it's time to start focusing on what's happening in the water. So this is going to be a transition as we look at mentally understanding what's happening in the water. As you already know, the title for this one is Self-Awareness and Self-Reflection. The purpose here is very simple. To be able to analyze, break down, understand, and make improvements on what you're doing, there are 2 things that are incredibly important. First, you have to be self-aware. That means you need to know your strengths and weaknesses. You need to be in the moment when you are doing things and able to focus on what's going on, not panicky, reacting, doing what we commonly refer to as survival boating. Very rare that you make personal growth when you're in that mind state. Much more often, you need to paddle something where you can be at least comfortable enough to be conscious of things that are happening right now and things that are going to happen in front of you. An easy way to think about this is there's a speed at which you are comfortable driving down a backwoods, windy road, and you're able to see, look around, watch for deer coming. There are also speeds at which you can go way too fast, and all you're able to do is hold the car on the road as you go whipping down there. We want to be in that first scenario. So you want to be present in the moment, understanding what's going on. Part of this is also being critical, and that's where really the magic happens. I did a video, I'll drop a link up to it above here, but talking about watching GoPro footage and using that to review your paddling and learn from it. And in there I talked about, the purpose here is not just to record everything and say that everything that you do is awesome. The purpose is to be self-critical, aware, look at what you're doing and where you could have made improvements or why something went right. So that skill that I covered there is very important and should be brought into this conversation as well. Without being able to critically identify your strengths and weaknesses, you're never going to pick the right places to grow. You're never going to push and prod in the right ways that a blacksmith would mold out, a piece of molten metal. Now, this is where we make that transition into self-reflection. It is very important, either immediately below a rapid in the eddy while you're looking up or on the ride home, whenever it is, to reflect back on the lessons that you learned, on the things that went right, the things that went wrong, the things that you've done a million times that maybe you could change and finesse in some way. If we always do the same thing again and again, the exact same way, we're not going to grow. It's akin to that quote that is misattributed to Albert Einstein, where the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, right? If you aren't looking for those places where you can improve on what you were doing, you're not going to make those improvements. So being able to accurately look back on what happened today and think through every little thing that you did, that doesn't happen on its own. That's a skill, and it actually helps with step 1 of being present in the moment. If you're looking for specific things that you're linking together in places at times, those are all things that you chronicle in your mind. So the more that you look at those things that way, the easier it will become to break things down in the future as we go further into this. So all of this comes down to this same calm mindset where you may not necessarily be comfortable, but you are self-aware and even in real time, perhaps, critical of what you're doing. I know that for many people that's going to seem really derivative and obvious, but it is not something that comes normally. We all, especially dudes, like to feel that we are kings of our castle, masters of our domain, and it can be very hard to admit when we're wrong, admit when we don't do something perfectly, when we make mistakes. And those are all things that are going to get between you and where you want to be. That goes all the way back to part 1 about accepting failure. Take a moment, next time you're riding home, next time you beat or align, try to relive that moment in the same but opposite way that when you go to run a drop, you try to mentally visualize what you're about to do and live it before you do it. The goal here is to be accurate in reliving it once it's done so that you can break it down and figure out where something went wrong. Put simply, these techniques are how you become your own coach. We all can't have a full-time instructor or a full-time coach, but what we can do is be critical of ourselves, ever watchful, and vigilant in keeping ourselves tight and right. This is really your only tool to be self-critical, watch what you're doing, and learn from yourself. That's it for today. If you have a question, as always, ask it in the comments. I am very attentive to those. Please don't ask me on my social media. That's my space. And, well, not literally, that's a horrible website. But anyway, thank you so much, and I will see you on the next one.